Hi everyone, Dominic here. As you'll know, as a team where a number of us work remotely, um, it can always be hard to keep control of communication. And it's been an ongoing item for a number of us as to understand what's happening across the team, what people are working on, and how we can support our colleagues in individual projects. And as the team's grown, we found that team communications have ended up becoming quite cluttered. We can find ourselves um, finding it quite hard to keep track of all the emails in our inboxes, understanding which are the priorities, which are the ones that people are working on. And what ends up happening then is we find ourselves with the need just to send a simple message to each other. And we'll normally do that over WhatsApp or text message or a single line message with the subject line with the update in it. Um, but the problem here is that although certain progress is needed to be communicated to one person, um, in teams like ourselves where we're trying to have a flat hierarchy, transparency becomes critical here, where we're trying to understand what's going on at any given time within the organization. And it also helps the team if everyone is made aware of what's going on, that they then can interject, ask questions, help other individuals plan their own work, and add their own skills and assets to what might be a more interesting project that they feel they could add some value to. So, with this in mind, I'm going to introduce Slack. Slack answers a number of these questions and dilemmas for us. But like any tool, it comes down to how, as a team, we embed this within the way that we work. Now, a number of organizations have removed internal emails completely and moved to instant messaging tools like Slack so that they can create a social environment around everything that is being discussed, especially for virtual teams that find it difficult to find those water cooler moments that would traditionally exist in a organization that has some offices. So, with no further ado, let me introduce Slack. So, Slack, even the way that it identifies itself, is where work happens. It's a communication tool to help workflow flow a lot better, as it says here. And not only that, it can integrate multiple applications. Now, some of us are looking at a customer relationship management tool and project management tools that we can get off the shelf. A number of those can be embedded directly into Slack so that everything is unified in one place and enables logging of what's happening across the entire team. And tools like that are Trello and Asana that some people have looked at. The other thing is that it's a conversation, a place for every conversation, not just instant messaging. You can now do video calls through it. You can also do group calls directly within Slack, so it enables things to happen quite quickly from your desktop or from your phone. As mentioned, it brings in a number of applications that you would normally be using through content management and file sharing services. For example, Dropbox, even Zoom. So we're using Zoom at the moment. We can integrate Zoom into it. Trello, Asana, etc., etc. The great thing about Slack that I love is when you've got a large team and multiple conversations happening at any time, you can find answers quite quickly. And the search functionality within Slack is probably one of the best out there, being able to find and specify what it is that you're looking for. Definitely a lot more straightforward than the search functionality that we find ourselves in using Microsoft Outlook. The other thing is that in terms of endorsements, Slack is used all over the world by lots of organizations and used by a lot of people that are trying to create special things happening in the world. And Slack is free to use for a lot of its functionality that most people will find useful to them. There is a plan to upgrade, but we'll find that majority of the work we'll be doing will be on the free plan. So if you haven't already been invited to the Team Slack account, I'll get you on an invite to that stream. Okay, so now we know a little bit about why we want to use Slack within our organization. The next step is to download Slack, and you can access Slack directly through the browser. through Firefox, Chrome, Internet Explorer, etc. Or you can download it directly onto your computer or your mobile phone. So when you go to the downloads page, and the best way to do that is go to slack.com. I'll do that now just to show you. If we scroll down to the bottom, there is a option here on resources. There's lots of other really interesting stuff for guides and help if you do get stuck. There's plenty of support on there. I click on download. It'll automatically recognize what device that you're on. In this case, I'm using my MacBook, and here I can download the application, and I can also download it directly on iPhone, Androids, or Windows phones, and you can see all the options there to keep you synced across all your devices and keep communication across all of your products without losing the conversation when you're out and about. So I have this downloaded already, so let me jump straight into that. And then I'll just walk you through some of the basics of how to use Slack. Now, up to now, if you haven't already got a Slack account, please message me directly and I will add you onto the Horizons work group. And in that work group, you'll then be able to get engaged in the work that's currently going on. So let me just open up my Slack desktop application. As you can see, I've already got it open. You'll also notice that I've got a number of other workspaces on the left-hand side of other work groups of individuals who are doing other bits and pieces, but they have invited me to get involved in the conversations. Let's start off with changing our profile details. So when you first join, it'll be quite blank, but let me jump on here. So on the top left-hand corner, we'll have the ability to edit statuses, profile an account, set yourself to away, etc. What we want to do in our first instance is profile an account. This will then pop up this little tab over on the right-hand side. Edit profile, quite straightforward. Put in your full name, put in your display name. Now here, I usually put in my social media username, so Dom Kushner, just so it's a little bit more rememberable for people that are communicating with you across multiple channels online. You can also type in what you do, your mobile number, and what time zone you're in, and if you do use Skype and you want to have that enabled as well, feel free to add that in. The other bit that you'll want to do is just upload a picture of yourself, grab that picture directly off your desktop, or take a picture off your phone, and you can add it in directly from the mobile app. Now, the other great thing I like about Slack, and you'll find this really helpful as well, is just being clear with your colleagues about what your status is. Sometimes you can just say crazy busy, if I can type, and that'll then just save. And over on the left hand side here, you'll see that it's all the people that are in this workspace. I can see what they're currently doing or how they're feeling, what their status is. But also, if you're in a meeting, just to let people know that you're not available for communication. So your light might be green still, you're still online, but you're in a meeting, so you won't be able to respond to messages as quick as you normally would. Also, if you're working from home, you can do that as well, or vacationing. So I'll leave that with you. You'll enjoy having a play with that. And then let me take you through to the next thing I want to show you, which is working directly in Slack. Now, you'll start to notice that there's quite a lot of things over here on the left-hand side and get a little bit confusing at times. But let me explain to begin with what are channels. So channels are kind of the central place where people want to have a conversation around. So we use the hashtags if you want to initiate a conversation, or you can jump directly into the channels. And the reason that we use hashtags is it's very similar to Twitter. It just brings everybody together around a particular subject. And you can either create your own, and you can invite people and define its purpose directly into that, and you can keep it open for everybody to view. Or you can jump into all the different channels. Now, when you first started, you might not see all of these because you haven't joined them directly yourself, or you haven't been invited to them. Feel free to click on the Browse All Channels, so it's the Channels button, and that will then pop up a list of all the channels that are currently available in the workspace. So let me click on one of these. You can click on Preview as well if you want to see it. and click join. So in this case, I'm not part of this one, but I'm interested in the conversation that's going on there. As you can see here, they'll then be notified that I have joined this channel, and I can then have a look through and see what Pardeep and Kate were talking about with regards to this program of work. What's really great then is I can start doing things like you normally would on other social media channels, for example, like Twitter. You can start messaging people directly. So you can say, at Kate, hi, just found this channel. Very interesting. And that will then send a notification to those people, and it'll come up directly over on the left-hand side. You can also click directly on the person's name, and you can do various things like view all the files that you've shared for them, invite them to another channel. You can direct message them as well, which is really great. And you can see here, Kate and I have been having some conversations about people using Slack. And as you can see, we've been trying to do this for a number of years now. So let's see if we can get this working. The other great thing that's worth pointing out is when you're messaging people directly, nobody else can see that, so you can keep conversations amongst yourselves. If you wanted to message everybody in the group, you could do simple things like @channel, and that will then test channel test. And that will then send a message to everybody that's on that. You'll see there's some people in different time zones. I'm not sure why that is, but they currently are. Send it now. That will then mean that everybody gets a notification about what's happening. And it's great for announcements, specifically on things that are happening in the team and the organization. The next thing I want to show you is when you see a comment or something of interest that you want to give your attention to, you don't always have to respond, but it's always good to get a visible status like you would on Facebook, that you like the person's comment or you disagree with it, or you want to can be a little bit more sillier on Slack if you wanted to put anything else in. So traditionally, there's quite a few here. You can change your feedback on that. As you can see here, I've done this on Zoe's comment. I've liked it, and I've also put a little robot on there. I can also start a separate thread with Zoe if I wanted to. I can send it directly around this piece onto the main channel, or I can start an entire thread around this directly. Happy to have a chat about E4C. Okay, so I think that is enough to get us started at the very least. And there's a lot more that Slack can do. And I think over time, you'll start to find some of those advanced features yourselves. But in the first instance, I think as a team, if we can start getting our heads around the idea of communicating with each other, especially for the quick check-in things of, how are you doing this week? Can you give me a comment on X? If we can start doing that in the channels specifically related to projects, and we can add additional channels as we go through. We can archive the ones that are no longer relevant. But in the first instance of what was agreed today, that we have a channel specifically for my priorities, so hashtag my priorities channel, where we just talk about what are your priorities for the week and enable your colleagues to support you in the best way that you can. And I'm sure from there, then we can start using tools in a more efficient way so that we can try and break down some of those communication challenges that people have across organizations and teams, and we can lead the way on this. So thank you very much for listening to this session, and looking forward to lots of questions and comments and things that you'd like to know on the next one. And as mentioned at the early start, if you are not part of the team's workspace, please message me by email, WhatsApp, or carrier pigeon, and I will get that sorted for you straight away. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.